And then, then I met Sergio and I was 43 and he was 24, which also everyone was like, I mean, I've never done anything the right way round, I suppose. I mean, everyone was like, what the actual fuck? Have her committed. Um, and I probably would have said, in fact, I have said the same to a very good girlfriend of mine who did exactly this, and hers didn't work out. And I went back afterwards when I, met Sergio and said, "Oh God, if God had a stick, here I am. I'm so sorry I spoke about you this way."
Right. Wow. So wait, tell people who, again, may not be familiar with the story, how did you meet Sergio and explain the beginning of that relationship?
So I was traveling again, and I had my podcast back then. It was called Divorce Not Dead. No, it wasn't. What was it called? It was called something else. I was just starting. I was doing a tour. I was going to do a tour around America. It was just before COVID, but then it got
Right.
shut down in theaters. And it was called According to Caroline. That was it. And it was my first ever one in Newport Beach. And I had all my girlfriends with me, like Shiva Safar and Alexandra von Furstenberg and all of these amazing Tracy Tutor. And we were all on stage and I'd organized this, Patty Stanger.
Mhm.
And Sergio walked in. He was on a date, having come back from playing football. And he was doing his master's or degree in UCI. So he was living there. And he had been playing football in the States. And he was just in the audience. And literally, it was a female empowerment talk. So I couldn't understand why he was there anyway. And he was so hot. But he came into the VIP room and I was like, "Oh, are you single?" Because I was thinking of my girlfriend, actually. And he said, "Yes, we got talking." And then I had to go because so we just swapped numbers quickly. And I said, "Oh, we'll get in touch." And then that was it. And then as I'm sitting outside at the end of the show, he was still there. And he walked out and I just looked, he touched the back of my head and I went, "There goes my future husband."
Oh my gosh.
And
So
4 years later, I'm married to him.
amazing. So let's talk about that stigma for a second. So I was married to somebody who was 10 years younger. I have a
Hmm.
child with him. And I will say it did not work out for me. But it was hearing your story now, I realize you and I are very similar. I'm very much to myself. I'm an individual. I make a lot of my own decisions. I'm very spontaneous. I was in boarding school since I was 12. So I feel
Yeah,
like I really raised myself
same
and
question.
I
Yeah.
don't have a home base to go to, which has been sometimes sad, but I don't know that I would even have leaned on it had it been there for me. And I felt like I had to grow up fast. So I chose to date a younger man, because he came to me with no baggage because he was so young, but he was so good looking. And I was like, well, this works. And I started to see how nice he was and he checked a lot of boxes. But as time went on, I had a kid very quickly with him. And, I started to see that the reversal in what I needed for looking at a man, I couldn't be the man and the woman. And it seems like Sergio obviously is very different, but when you don't have a balance of taking care of each other a little bit, I'm not even talking about monetarily, that really affected our relationship. And I think that's what made it end because I stopped looking at him as this man that I wanted to lean on or could lean on. I had to have all the answers, and that to me broke down the relationship. So for you, how has it been? Obviously, you guys have a great relationship, but what are some of the struggles that you have to get through? And it's not even age, but just within the two of you.
Well, look, there's age factors both ways. And again, I think being in boarding school, we both know how to helicopter ourselves. So
Yeah.
I go to myself, look, there are downsides. Obviously, there are downsides to dating. He's almost 20 years younger than me,
Hmm.
19 years younger. So, there's a lot of things that are wrong with it, but there are a lot of things that are right with it. And I outweigh them because I think about like what I would have had if I had someone who was 50 or 55, which is
Right.
age appropriate for me. He
Sure.
would hate my lifestyle. We would not be traveling. We would have to go around his schedule. I would not be belly laughing and watching a dick dance in the morning.
Right.
All of the things that I love, right? And it's just brightens my day. We go running, stop, we do such spontaneous, crazy shit, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it keeps me young. But what are the downsides to it? Obviously, of course, Sergio's been with me since he was 24 and he's been looked after because he was at Real Madrid. So, he was always looked after and cared for in a way. He went from his mother to me, right? I've
Right.
taught him everything.
Hmm.
But the other side, I've never had a man take such good care of me.
Right.
Like his entire life is dedicated to making me happy,
Right. And a
like making
priority.
sure
Yeah.
I'm his only priority. He
Mhm.
doesn't go out with friends. He's not interested to going out with the boys. I send him out with the boys because sometimes I wouldn't mind, I need a bit of space just to be me.
Sure.
And he always wants to come home. He
Mm.
doesn't look at other women. He's building a beautiful business for me and for my, Bali was all him. Everything. He found the land, built it, did everything. It's insane. I haven't been
Yeah.
involved at all. And that's for my old age. Like he's literally preparing for where we are going to retire to, even though I'm like, well, you won't be of retirement age, but okay. Um, and it's a beautiful thing. Like I think on the other hand, I see someone who's so committed because I think the age works for us and against us, right? But there are so few things that I can't overcome. Do I get frustrated being the man and the woman and making all the big decisions? Sometimes. But also I do know that having had an older man or, a more serious man in a way, it's
Hmm.
more, well, not serious, but what they call traditional.
Yeah.
I also don't want that life where he chose everything and I have to do these big dinners all the time and I have to be, this certain kind of person. I'm authentically myself, be it like I'm not worried how I look. I don't care if I've got gray hair. I don't care. He never makes me feel less than. I am his queen.
Yeah.
So, the things that I have to teach him, he gets really quickly. He runs his whole life is running all of this. I can't happen without Sergio anymore.
Right.
He
Right. And I think
literally does everything.
I think it's very interesting that people have been hung up on the age thing because what people do forget is okay, so there's an age, but there's plenty of women that are dating men 20 years older, and exactly like you're talking about, that becomes difficult too, and you end up kind of losing your identity with somebody that much older because you're either the side piece or the trophy wife, or you have to
You have
tone
to
your
move into
life.
his house. You can't touch anything.
Yes.
It's not your home. Like our
Right.
home is our home. We built it together.
Right. And
You
I think
know?
what people forget is when you find someone that is more, compatible with you, that's the thing that people forget about. Like you're having fun, all these positives, the green flags you're talking about. People tend to forget about that. And that's the hardest thing to find. So when you find that, the age kind of should go out the window.
When we argue, it's for 2 seconds because he makes me laugh so much. I can't even stay mad with him. It drives
Yeah.
me nuts. Like I'm literally on the floor belly laughing. Now, a belly laugh for me is worth, I don't know what. And
Yeah.
I always find if you're happy, money comes, honey. Money comes. I'm never
Yeah.
worried about money. We are the most successful, and I'm probably the most successful today that I've been in a very long time because I'm happy. And
Right.
I think before I was blocked, and even like, in housewives and things like this, it's very hard to do positive jobs sometimes, because you're so like you're just in this thing where you're just fighting off people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Sergio, we are so embraced as a couple now because I think at the beginning people were like, oh, let's watch this play out, shall we?
Right. Right.
Here we go. Another woman in her having a midlife crisis who's just met a fuck boy. And I
Right.
get it, I really get it. And as I said, but he has overly proved himself, right? It's
Right.
not like he came into my house and I gave him a fucking credit card. That's just
Right.
not how it works. If anything, I take all his money. I said, whatever is in the bank is now mine and I will be distributing it. And that's how I like to do it, right?
Right.
And the thing is, he actually doesn't care because he's more creative. So he's like, you do that and I'm going to build this.
Yeah.
And that's what's been so great. And he only wants to watch me win.
Right. That's amazing. And it is so hard to find women or men that want to watch you win. So when you find one, you hold on to them very tightly.
Because
I truly
mostly
believe that.
you become, in my last relationship, I think we were slightly competitive. If I really look back, we
Mm.
used to compete against each other. Like
Yeah.
men get funny if the woman's earning a lot of money. They
Right.
get
A
funny,
hundred percent. Threatened.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're threatened. So I think younger, he's like, well, I'm on the train. If you're making a lot of money, great, because it's for us. So I'm
Exactly.
going to help you make more money.